Hello and welcome to Baseball Barbacast, the only baseball podcast in the world that likes its Todd coffee freshly ground. I'm Jake Mintz. That's Jordan Shusterman, and that's a cup of Joe.
Shouts out to Todd Coffee. I remember interviewing Todd Coffee at the first winter meetings we ever attended back in Washington, D.C. in 2016, I believe. Todd Coffee, of course, a legendary member of the Reds and the Nationals, and a delightful gentleman. So I hope Todd Coffee is doing well, and I'm glad he was got to be shouted out for the first minute of this Friday edition of Baseball Barbacast, where the Todd Coffee chat ends here. We are going to talk about Jack Leiter. We're going to talk about Logan Webb. We have another wonderful edition of Good, Bad, and the Uggla. We are going to preview the weekend. Incredible slate of weekend series coming up. I'm going to be at a game today and tomorrow. 2 different games in 2 different cities. So excited to talk about that. But how are you doing on this Friday, my dear friend? I
am feeling so goofy, and I am ready to have a goofy show because there just wasn't enough baseball yesterday. I think,
totally.
It's an embarrassingly light slate for a Thursday.
Yeah, it was mostly the product of the full Jackie Robinson Day slate on Monday to kind of balance it out, right? So the rhythm of the MLB schedule is Mondays and Thursdays are the light days, and when you had everybody playing on Monday, I think that contributed to the lack of games. And plus, we had a rain out as well. So it did feel sparse, but it just makes me more excited for Friday. And we're going to get into all that at the end of the show as we preview the weekend. But let's talk about what we did see on Thursday, because there were a couple games. And we talked on Wednesday kind of previewing just a little bit of a look ahead at Jack Leiter's debut. We watched him pitch against the Tigers yesterday afternoon. I understand. I watched it pretty closely as well. It seems like you were pretty locked in on this game. So yeah, just quick impressions here. What did we see? Obviously, it didn't go great. He allowed a bunch of runs and got knocked around a little bit. It started off good, right? He strikes out the first guy in 3 pitches. He shows a nasty changeup. We sort of quickly started to see what sort of issues he could be running into as a major league starter.
So yeah, we talked about Leiter the other day. 2nd overall pick, really hyped. His dad's very famous. But his prospect stock has fallen over the last couple of years, and you could see why in his debut on Thursday. The issue, right, is that the fastball command is kind of all over the place, and he gets behind in counts, especially in the 2nd inning, and the secondary stuff, like the slider almost moves too much, where it never really looks like a strike, and so guys are able to lay off of it, and once he gets behind in counts and the fastball's low in the zone, it's just not a very good pitch. And he just got hit around really hard in the 2nd inning. Now, he did flash some stuff, like the fastball when it's at the top of the zone, 96 miles an hour, it's got good ride to it, is a really good pitch. But when it's 93 and down, like it's not that special. He threw a couple changeups that I thought were really good. Struck out Kerry Carpenter on a combio that was nice. Yep. But as a whole, like I was not impressed.
Yeah, so my two takeaways. One is just what you just mentioned, the changeup there. Pitch, he really was like a clear 3rd or 4th offering for him in the minors this year, and as we've seen him, in the upper minors with Texas. But I think for what we talked about on Wednesday is, okay, his issues so far in pro ball have been command, but also just straight control, right? I mean, he was walking, 5-6 guys per 9 over the last couple seasons, and that's totally untenable. And so when he goes down in his first few starts, or first few outings in the minors this year, and he only walks 3 guys, it's like, okay, great. Oh, maybe he's improved in that aspect. But this is an incredible example of the difference between command and control. Because which is control is throwing strikes and not walking the house. Maybe he has improved in that aspect. Command is actually throwing the ball where you want to throw it in order to get the best hitters in the world out. And that was something that Jack Leiter clearly struggled with yesterday. And the difference between his fastball at the top of the zone and the bottom of the zone was very apparent, on top of, his struggles locating the slider when he really needed to. So, there's still ingredients there. I am curious if maybe the changeup does become more of a weapon, certainly against left-handers, but that looked even better than I feel like I've ever seen it. So, not the best start for him for sure, especially when he had multiple leads that he coughed up. So that was a situation where maybe that factored into it too, where he felt like he had a lead and he felt like he could attack the zone and he was getting punished for it. It's one start, but it is going to be interesting. And I said this on Wednesday, this was going to be true no matter how yesterday went. How much are they going to rely on him this year? Is this someone they actually want to give another round of the rotation, or is this still someone that has a lot of things to work out in AAA?
You're right. It's one start, but it was one start in which all of the issues we anticipated and were worried about kind of came to the fore against the best hitters in the world and left me as concerned about Jack Leiter. I know you're laughing at me saying the Tigers are the best hitters in the world. I know that's what that laugh was.
No,
but
I mean
big leaguers.
No, but that is exactly what I'm laughing at, and it's also exactly correct. Like it is a massive difference. And again, we joke all the the Norfolk Tides could kick the White Sox ass. Like again, difference between AAA and the big leagues is gigantic. And so yes, the Tigers offense is not the scariest. But guess what? If you miss your fastball spot to Spencer Torkelson, no matter how slow of a start to the season is going to have, he is going to crush it. Same thing with literally Javi Baez, who looks to be, you would think one of the easiest outs in baseball right now. He's still Javi Baez. He's still a major league hitter. He will crush your fastball in the wrong part of the zone.
From an inauspicious debut to a spicious.
When I watched Logan Webb last night, I was like, man, this guy is as suspicious as it gets.
He's so suspicious. Basically, okay, so here's a quick tale. I'm in bed last night on my laptop watching Logan Webb, Chuck, and my beautiful fiance comes home, and she gets in bed, and she looks at the screen, and what does she say, Jordan? She says,
"Is that Jesse Plemons?"
Bingo. She goes, "Is that actor?" And it's always reassuring.
Giants uni?
In a Giants uni? It's always reassuring, right, when things like that happen. That, developments we've come to accept as fact are indeed fact by people on the outside. Logan Webb does look like Jesse Plemons.
Wait till she sees Tyler Glass now. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Watch out.
Little radar slut.
So trademark that. Here's the thing. Logan Webb, who is now already, leading baseball in innings as he did a year ago, 7 straight outings of 7 innings. He's getting better and better and better. D-backs lineup kind of scuffling right now, but he knows exactly who he is. He's doing exactly what he wants to do every time. And he's just a delight to watch. To call him a throwback is so ridiculous, but but that is just how extreme pitching has become in recent years, that he seems like this outlier on so many levels, whether it is getting the ground balls, whether it's pitching deep into games, whether it's, all these things that just make him a little bit different. But he's a real incredible pitcher to watch. And I know the sweeper has been more of a thing for him so far this season. And he's great. He's one of my favorite pitchers to watch.
It's a delight. Like sinker, sweeper, change. Thanks for coming out. Like, I appreciate it.
And once we'll talk about Snell a little bit later on. He's making his third Giant start tonight. If and when Snell starts rolling, the contrast there on the same team is just spectacular.
Oh yeah,
it is an amazing yin and yang situation. So
a couple other things.
We love Logan Webb.
A couple other things from Giants-Dbacks. The Nick Ahmed revenge series. So Nick Ahmed, who was a Diamondback for 10 years, which is really wild to think about. But Nick Ahmed was like a solid to injured to above average defensive, like an elite defensive shortstop.
2-time Gold
Elite
Glove,
defensive shortstop, who never hit enough. And he was there for 10 years. And then last year, when he was just really struggling, the Diamondbacks told him to buzz off, like right before they went to the World Series. And apparently, like, Ahmed is pissed. Like, they were talking about this in the broadcast last night, in the Giants broadcast. Like, Nick Ahmed harbors legitimate resentment towards the Arizona Diamondbacks. And on the broadcast, they're like, Ahmed really wants to show out against his former club for, like, leaving him off the World Series roster. Like in Miracle, in Miracle, it's like the guy who didn't get to go to the Olympics. He's the last guy off the roster.
It's the same thing. They'll make the movie about this as well. I would say that...
And he hit a double off the wall.
There you go. By the way, sneaky Nick Ahmed thing. he is a low-key top 10 juice ball hero. 19 home runs in 2019 for Nick Ahmed is amazing. But anyway, and by the way, it's funny because as far as we know, Brandon Crawford feels very similarly about the Giants, who are now employing a different, mid-30s shortstop who we thought was done being a major league shortstop. But good for Nick Ahmed. And yeah, D-backs are D-backs
one other
great.
Giants thing. So they installed like new fancy lights this year at Oracle that do a fun light show whenever they hit a homer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're getting more of those, more dinger light shows.
Well, Jordan, the Giants don't have a home run yet.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Jorge Soler, this is your job. Well, this is why they gave you all the money. What are we waiting for, bud?
To be fair, they've only played 7 home games.
Okay,
but zero home.
That's still a lot of.
I know.
Still a lot of home games for no
homers. And so the light show has been. They played it yesterday, apparently during a double, just so that they could just use it,
just to like stretch it out.
No, just to like get use out of it.
Oh my God, no! What? That's awful. That's what's the point? You should save it so then it's more exciting when they finally do hit a home run. That's awful. That shame on you, Giants ballpark ops. That is disappointing. That is a lack of patience and commitment to the bit. Last thing on Giants-Dbacks. This is the start of the 4-game series. Opportunity for the Giants, and to me, this is just a great opportunity for the Giants as far as April series goes to be like. Again, we're going to be shuffling the Giants, Padres, and D-backs probably all season long. This is a nice, early season opportunity for them to be like, hey, no, we're better than the D-backs. So we'll see if they take that chance. All right, Jake, now we move on to a new segment that may or may not be a segment in the future. Love it or hate it. We have a few, basically, as you mentioned before we started recording, early season, I know we did our mid-season, okay, are we feeling better, worse, same? There's not that much news, and we don't want to overreact too much to individual results. And so, but there's so much baseball happening. There's minor league baseball happening. There's so many little nuggets along the way. We're not going to get to all of them. We try to be as efficient as possible. With that said, we have chosen a selection of news and just small nuggets of things that we've seen recently. And we are going to decide whether we love it or we hate it.
I would like to begin with Max Clark's cleats. Who is Max Clark? Max Clark was the number 3 overall pick in the 2023 MLB draft by the Detroit Tigers. Max Clark was not expected to be the number 3 pick. He was really expected to be the number 4 or number 5 pick. And the reason that's relevant is that the Texas Rangers, who were picking 4th, were able to select one Mr. Wyatt Langford, who is already in the big leagues. Now, Wyatt Langford has started somewhat slowly during his big league tenure with the Rangers, but it is pretty universally accepted, Jordan. You would rather have Wyatt Langford than Max Clark in your organization right now?
Yeah, I would. And I'm a pretty big Max Clark fan. So,
right. But I'm just saying,
it's a pretty rational take.
One guy's in the major
leagues. Max Clark
leagues.
has not done anything wrong, but that is kind of where we're at.
Yeah, one guy's in the major leagues, treading water, doing fine. The other guy is been struggling in low A. I think that's kind of a. Anyway, Max Clark, who is a very fun personality, has donned some cleats, some interesting cleats, cleats that have receipts from the haters. Okay, receipts from the haters. And what I mean by this is that like the cleats have tweets on them or Instagram comments with people just saying stuff about him on the internet. It's like, wow, never been sure of someone being a bust than Max Clark. Max Clark was the wrong pick. Like they're on the cleats. That's on his left foot. On the right foot, it's like positive feedback in blue, negative feedback in red on the left shoe, positive feedback in red or in blue on the right shoe. Jordan, do you love this or hate this? Love this or hate this? Max Clark's cleats having receipts, actual receipts on them from the haters.
Oh man. This is such a perfect introduction to this concept of a segment. I think I still love it. I think I do love it. And I think I totally understand him getting grief for this, but that's like the point. Like, because guess what? All your tweets telling him like, bro, like chill, you're in low A, chill, blah, 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 like blah, blah. Guess what? You're on the next pair of cleats. Congratulations. Bingo. And Max Clark, having met this kid, I watched him play a high school game in Indiana last year. He is going to do his thing no matter what. And some people are going to like it. Some people aren't. This dude ain't changing. And that's fine. He listen, you don't got to tell him that it's about doing it on the field. Okay. He's well aware of that. But he can do a lot of these things at once. He's done it all the way up to this point. It's so early in his career. Long way to go. And if this is what he wants to do to get jacked up, then good for him.
Right. It is perfect though, right? Because the same reason he's getting all of the negative feedback on left cleat is exemplified in his decision to do this on his shoes. So Max Clark, don't change. If he hits and he plays well, like he's going to be awesome. And if he doesn't, then it's a joke, right? And so it just completely depends on how he plays, and that's fine.
And he knows that too. And that's the other thing is it's like, listen, baseball players feeling aggrieved or wanting to prove the haters wrong, no, that's not new. And if he's found a new way to express that, that's all good for us. Why does this affect you, the random person who's not even a Tigers fan? This is a slight tangent, but this is the thing I never understand about the logic of people like hating on other young players on teams that aren't them. It's very strong with like Ellie De La Cruz is a big thing, especially last year. It's like overrated. Why are we tweeting about him? His OPS is, 600. Who cares? It's like, and non-Reds fans, it's like the only people who should care about that are the people whose, future of their actual team is dependent on that. Where it's like, what do you care if this guy wants to have these on his cleats? Like, that's great. That's good for him. It's entertaining. This is entertainment. And Max Clark understands that more than most teenagers who are professional baseball players. So good for Max Clark. We're rooting for him.
It raises the stakes, right? Because it's like, if he sucks, then you can really throw some hate his way.
Yeah. He's
next thing, love it or hate it. Triston McKenzie, Guardians pitcher, is pitching with a torn UCL.
Yeah. So this is a very interesting story. Basically, Triston McKenzie, who spoke to Zach Meisel at The Athletic, and this was part of a story that they did last week, of Athletic story, kind of talking to pitchers about, like the fear of like, hey, so everyone's blowing out. Like, how do you deal with that mentally, let alone physically? And basically, Triston talks about how he last year had the decision to, they're like, listen, you got some damage. Like, we could just go under now, or you can just rest and see how you're doing. He says that he's pain-free now. Now, clearly, the velocity is not the same. But at least in the story I saw last week, and then I believe followed up this, like he's pitching pain-free. And in that theory, it's like, okay, you rested it for many, many months, and now you're pitching without pain. Is he the same? He sure doesn't look the same. And so it is, but him getting at the question of when do I do this if this is inevitable is challenging. And this is why I hate it, because it just makes me really bummed out that like this is what pitchers are forced to reckon with. And how stuck Triston McKenzie feels and the decision that he's stuck to face, where it's like, I can do this, but I know I should do this. And when is it best to do this is so difficult on top of all the obvious things that are unfortunate about pitcher arm injuries.
The one thing I do love about it is how candid he is. I find that professional athletes are often very authoritative about their decisions and are unwilling to admit that there's a gray area involved. And McKenzie being like, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, like, is refreshing. Yeah. You're right. I hate that he even has to deal with it and that pitchers have to have this in the back of their minds at all. Jordan, hate it or love it. Mike Trout, familiar with him. He won an MVP award, I believe, 3 times, which is Mike impressive.
Trout, like, this is the real thing about like when now people are like, Mike Trout's back. Like, I don't know if you remember this guy, but he finished top 2 in MVP voting 7 out of 8 years, which is just so ridiculous. I don't think that's been done. I mean, I know Bonds would ever won however many in a row, but 7 out of 8 top 2 finishes is so laughable. But yeah, I mean, he's one of the best players of all time.
And Mike Trout is back is not fair, but he is certainly around harder. Like, I'm trying to think of the English language words to use. Mike Trout is back. It's okay. We can say back.
I have no
Mike Trout has 8 homers. He has 8 home runs so far this year, but more importantly for our conversation, he has 5 stolen bases. Mike Trout has, he's going to eclipse, the amount he's stolen, I think, over the last 6 years combined, essentially.
4 years.
Last year.
6. Yeah, that's true. If you even combine 2019 when he only stole 11. So, yeah.
Yes. Last year he had 2, 2022, 1, 2021, 2, 2021. And then in 19, he had 11. Like, this is a guy who stole 49 bases in his age 20 season when he won Rookie of the Year. And then it was like 33 bases. And then he kind of plateaued or in like the mid 20s. That he is back stealing bases is a double-edged sword. Jordan, do you hate this or love this?
I love this because at this point, Mike Trout's injuries. Now has been injured sliding into second base before, right? He broke that. That is a thing that has happened. However, Mike Trout's durability at this point, I don't think is going to come down whether he's stealing bases or not. I think it's just like this is just a thing that he's dealing with, whether it's soft tissue stuff, the calf strain, like things like that. So to that point, he's like, no, I'm going to go play baseball to my maximum capability because that's what Ron Washington wants me to do. And that's the coolest thing ever. And I'm excited to see it with my own 2 eyes tonight because the Angels are in Cincinnati. Him hitting 50 home runs this year would be not surprising, but I'm glad now as stolen bases have come back into the sport that Mike Trout, who is still one of the 20 fastest players in the league somehow, even though he's built like a linebacker and is 32 years old, I hope that he is part of that because he should be.
Every time that he steals, though, I'm like, ooh. It's like a little, it's like watching a kid, cross the street.
Yeah, I guess. I'm sure he's going to at least be a little bit more cognizant of how he's sliding, and that's fine. But I don't know. I'm just enjoying it. I'm so excited to see him in person again because I haven't seen him, at his full strength. And even though he's, I guess, been at All-Star games, but beyond that, I don't feel like I've seen Mike Trout play in person in a long time. So looking forward to it.
Okay, from love it or hate it. If you do love it or hate it, do you like it? Let us know. We should probably call it hate it or love it because of the song.
Oh, yeah, that's true. There's probably also songs called Love It or Hate It, but that's true.
Hate it or love it is the one we like.
That's true. That's a fair point. Good shout out.
One more thing before we take a break. We've done a segment on the show a couple times, many times. Sorry for your mentions, where a team going through it has the replies to the tweets are just sublime. Jordan, I have one called "Congrats on your mentions."
Okay,
I'm gonna send you a tweet that I think you saw.
All right.
Earlier
probably
this week,
did. I'm on Twitter a lot. Yeah.
Earlier this week, Triston McKenzie made a great catch. Orioles center fielder, full extension, deep in the outfield, laying out, making the play. At BBC Sport tweeted this clip out.
This. Okay. This is exquisite stuff. Okay. Yes. Okay.
BBC Sport, that's England, tweeted this clip out, and the replies to it are unbelievable because it is a lot of, first it was British people being pissed off that like this is not impressive, that cricketers do this all the time. Okay, so like Neil says, this is at Man City Neil.
Oh, perfect. That's exactly who I would want responding to this.
Impossible. Cricketers do this all the time without a massive glove. Here's another one. In cricket, they do this without wearing one of those huge mitts. Okay. Here's this is from Graham. Good catch, but not incredible. Why fielders need gloves, I'm not sure. Cricketers don't, and the ball is heavier. Cricketers make catches like these without a huge glove to help. Brilliant. Now do it without a glove.
So, to be clear, though, is this a sorry, or are you just saying you love these mentions so much?
I love these so much.
Okay, because again, so like if I'm the BBC, like,
and then what happens is like enough of the cricket people are on here like throwing that in. Then the baseball people like figure out what's going on. So then we have responses. Well, first of all, this is one of the funniest things ever from friend of the show, Foolish Baseball, who writes, Bruv, any cricketer be jumping out of his trainers for a snag like that, innit? You lot just running your gabba when that ball was absolutely twatted. Proper catch by that Meulens, mate. Class. Just so good by Foolish. But then you have someone responding, cricket people need to pipe down. I just want to go dump some tea in a body of water after reading these comments. You have someone sending in exit velocity, like from baseball games and being like, this is not a thing in cricket. Like guys are not hitting the ball 110 miles an hour.
Yes.
You know,
that was one of my first thoughts. Now, listen, as a legitimate cricket enthusiast, I am quite amused by this. Here's my take on this is more of a meta take. I believe that this is not an accident that the BBC posted this and they were like, oh, this is exactly what we're trying to get here. Like, I don't know if the BBC admin is also one of the people being like, this isn't actually that impressive, but I do believe that because of what this catch looks like, which is, it's an amazing catch. Whether he's wearing a glove or not, right? But
yeah,
I will say, like, I do encourage people to go look up cricket like, it is amazing. Cricket defense is amazing too, like diving catches. But of course, I still believe that because the field is larger, because the ball's being hit harder, because of like all these things, whatever. This is not a debate whether what is more impressive. It's just so funny. My point is, I am confident this is not an accident, and the BBC knew exactly what it was doing posting this clip.
Watch cricket. These catches are not unusual and no massive glove. Impressive still, not to poo on it too much, but cricket is much better. Okay, one more. Easy when you've got those big mittens on. American sport is so basic, designed for children. And then this is a Welshman defending baseball. Cricket fans, cricket is harder. Also cricket fans, goes to bat in more pads than a hockey goalie while swinging a boat oar in a game that has been going on for 3 days.
Also, shouts out to my wicket keepers out there who are wearing bigger gloves than baseball gloves. When they make some outstanding plays too, but they're wearing, talk about mittens. I mean, those are full-fledged. So this is outstanding. Great call. I mean, as much as I want to keep listening to you read these in your best British accent.
My worst British accent. My worst.
Thank you for that. And congrats to the BBC on the mentions, which I am quite confident you were going for. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on Baseball Barbacast, and we will be right back.
And welcome back to Baseball Barbacast. Jake Mintz, Jordan Shusterman. It is time for the good, the bad, and the Uggla. One thing good from the week, one thing bad from the week, and one thing, Dan Uggla, abnormal, weird, interesting, quirky. And I'm going to kick the rock to you, Jordan Shusterman. Begin. What is good for you?
My good could also qualify as an Uggla, but I have to put it in good. Jake, I am just going to send you a YouTube link here. This is something that I almost sent you yesterday, and I think there's a chance that you would have seen it. But I'm just going to send you a YouTube link here, and then I want you to just read me the title of the video, okay? I'm going to drop it in our document. And again, this is something that like has been sort of a theme over the last couple seasons, but it has really not ceased to amaze me that this is an actual part of our reality. So can you read me the title of this YouTube video that I just sent you?
LeBron, Travis Scott, Ice Spice, Ocho Cinco, Sauce Gardner, and J-Rod on awards and snubs. This is an episode of The Shop, which is like LeBron's show where famous people sit in a circle and say stuff.
Yes.
And
very famous people.
Yeah. And it appears that Julio Rodriguez has kind of gotten his foot in this door in a very impressive fashion.
So I watched this whole thing. Now, one thing to know about me is I just love LeBron James so much. So I'm a sucker for all things LeBron. I will watch LeBron content, and I have watched The Shop before. I'm all in on the LeBron tent. Now, that said, when I saw this posted, I was like, hold on a second. Like this is ridiculous. So let me just give it a little bit of background here. I watched the whole thing. Unfortunately, it is not Julio sitting with Travis Scott and Ice Spice, but it almost is. Because basically, the way that because these people are so famous, they only have a limited amount of time for even LeBron James. And so the first part of this video includes Travis Scott. And then eventually Travis Scott has to go because he's Travis Scott. And then eventually Ice Spice has to go because she's Ice Spice. She has places to be. And then eventually Ocho Cinco comes in and it's LeBron. And then Julio shows up at the end. Okay, so Julio is not sitting in the same exact circle of fake barber chairs as Ice Spice and Travis Scott. However, he is sitting with LeBron James, which in and of itself is an incredible achievement for literally any baseball player.
So there's no back and forth between LeBron, Ice Spice, and J-Rod. Like they're never breathing the same air.
This is exactly what I was hoping to have, but they are breathing the same. Again, this all seems to have happened in the same span of a couple hours. But unfortunately, we do not have like Julio, Ice Spice back and forth. However, this is still undeniably good because, again, we've talked so much in recent years, like what does it take for a baseball player to like break through into the mainstream? This is an unfathomable thing that Julio Rodriguez has accomplished for so many reasons and speaks to not just what he has accomplished on the field, but to who he is considered, what the person and personality is considered by the mainstream, like legitimate pop culture people who matter. Unbelievable. So cool. Julio is one of a kind. And when we're like, when he goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, I'm like, guess what? The best player on my favorite baseball team is for some reason hanging out with LeBron James.
Right.
That is such an absurd reality and good for Julio.
With all due respect to Yandy Diaz, he could never.
Exactly.
My other favorite thing about this, very quickly, is Chad Ochocinco getting a haircut when he's just bald. Like he's bald.
Yes,
like
I had that.
He's in the chair for a long time, and it's just like, well, how long does this need to take?
There is some great banter of Ochocinco, who's one of the most ridiculous humans, public figures that we have, telling Julio like, oh yeah, like I could hit 95. Oh yeah, he's like, I could. It's great. It's great. It's wonderful content. Or at least you just looking at them like being in the same room is so funny. So good for Julio. Good for the city of Seattle.
I have a very different good, like so different. Like
it's just
like Albert
good
Suarez.
Covers a lot. Oh,
Albert Suarez.
Well, I think he's actually going to be on the next episode of the show.
The next one, yeah, with Coy Leray. Okay, so Albert Suarez, who is Albert Suarez? He is a 34-year-old Venezuelan right-handed pitcher who made his MLB debut in 2016 with the San Francisco Giants as a 26-year-old. He pitched a little bit in 2016, pitched a little bit in 2017, and then spent about 7 years, 6-7 years, just bouncing around foreign leagues. So he was in the Venezuelan Winter League for a while. Every winter, he was in Japan for the Yakult Swallows. He was in the KBO with Samsung. And after all that time, he returned stateside as a 34-year-old this spring with the Orioles in spring training and was just throwing 95 and with a ton of ride and run and looked unbelievable, was like pretty solid in spring training. The numbers weren't great, but if you watched him, you knew it was real. Came up, made his first appearance in over 6 years with the Orioles this week, through 5 2/3 scoreless, allowed 3 hits, struck out 4. Just hilarious, right? Like there's all these things that go into pitching development, and sometimes Albert Suarez just shows up in camp.
Yeah, I mean, clearly he had found something pitching for the Samsung Lions as like the ace, right? Like that's a lot of experience starting, and that's part of the story. It's not just like the player development that sometimes happens over there, whether it's guys like Eric Fetty, Dan Straley, Merrill Kelly. We've seen guys like that, but it's also just like the opportunity to throw 150 innings against whatever competition, and clearly he figured something out to some degree.
I think Albert Suarez should be allowed to throw 150 pitches in a game this year in the big leagues, right? I think he could.
Right, exactly. These are the guys that this is the opposite of how we handle Jared Jones and Paul Skeets.
Yeah.
This guy should absolutely, especially if you have a lead, I mean, not that we don't care about Albert Suarez's UCL, but we care a little bit less. I'm sure he would happily go out there and throw as many possible pitches as he can. So, yeah, man, is he just going to be like on their pitching staff now? I don't really know what to make of that. All right, Jake, my bad this week. By the way, let's get Albert Suarez on the shop. Start that hashtag. Let's get
dude.
Cop from that invite.
Get him on the boardroom. Get him on the boardroom with Durant.
my at the very least, we should have him interviewed by new Orioles owner David Rubenstein on his podcast. My bad this week is the Red Sox defense. This team is averaging an error a game. They have 20 errors in 20 games, which for a major league team in the 21st century is like shockingly terrible. This is why every time I pull up the pitching stats, team pitching stats leaderboards, and I'm like, wow, like the Red Sox ERA is still so good. Why aren't they winning more games? Well, it's probably because they are actually allowing a good amount of runs because their defense stinks. And so I don't know how that is going. It is unfortunate because the pitching has clearly improved. I almost did Tanner Houck for my good because holy crap, did he look fantastic in his Maddox the other day. A complete game and under 100 pitches shutout against Cleveland. So a lot going well for that pitching staff, but it is just unfortunate when their defense is absolute doo-doo. They have allowed 81 runs total. 55 of them have been earned, which is a pretty hilarious ratio. So keeping an eye on those Red Sox errors because generally recently, like teams are so good at defense. The team leader, the league leader in errors every season is between 120 and 130 errors in a season. And they're obviously on pace for over 160. So we'll keep an eye on those gloves. They could certainly use Ron Washington.
You know what's bad?
What?
The tweet I'm about to read you.
All right.
You know what's surprising? Where it's coming from. This is a tweet from Breaking Aviation News and Videos. Do you know about this?
I don't think so, but maybe I saw it.
United Airlines and the Federal Aviation Administration are investigating how a passenger gained access to the cockpit of a 757 at cruise altitude in violation of the company's policy and FAA regulations. The incident reportedly occurred on April 10th when a United Airlines 757 was operating an Major League Baseball charter flight for the Colorado Rockies from Denver to Toronto. There is a video of what appears to be Rockies, I think he's the third base coach, Hensley Meulens.
Oh, no. Bam Bam?
Bam Bam. Bam Bam.
What?
Bam Bam. Oh, sorry, he's the hitting coach. Bam Bam was in the cockpit of the Rockies charter flight, and he posted the video on his Instagram, and now the FAA is investigating him.
Oh no. This is not something, I mean, you know, we just talked about the Rockies and whether their season has been better, worse, or the same than we expected so far. This was not, I mean, of all the Rockies possibilities, I mean, what are we doing?
Bam Bam in the cockpit of the plane. United Airlines has released a statement. We're deeply disturbed by what we see in the video, which appears to show an unauthorized person in the flight deck at cruise altitude when autopilot was engaged. It is a clear violation of our safety and operational policies, and we've reported the incident to the FAA and have withheld the pilots from service while we conduct an investigation.
Oh
Hensley Meulens in the cockpit, Bam Bam on the United flight, getting pilots in trouble, posting it on the gram. The Rockies are just not in a good place, man.
This is terrible. Now, it seems like
some unbelievable
I have
tweets,
so
by the
many
way.
more responses to this, yeah.
Yeah, this is from a Twitter account called @SlushyGutter. I'd like the FAA to investigate the unauthorized person in the Rockies ownership suite, please.
Not in their purview, unfortunately.
The Rockies are becoming Florida Man of Baseball headlines for all the wrong reasons.
That is... Oof. So again, though, it feels like this was partially on the pilots, right? I mean...
Oh, of course. What do you mean partially on the pilots? Of course it's on the pilots. Let them into the cockpit. It's not like Hensley.
Hey, come on in.
It's not like he bam-bammed the door down.
You want to drive? You want to drive? Like, bro, we're 20,000 feet in the air. Let's
also, I'm shocked it wasn't Charlie Blackmon. Like, Charlie Blackmon seems like the kind of guy who's like wants to fly a plane.
Also, it's also like, this is a person of authority, right? What kind of message are you sending to your players?
Right.
Ezekiel Tovar is now going to think like, oh, I can go in the cockpit.
I can fly a plane. Jordan, this has to happen all the time. I bet that players are just like in the cockpit of charter planes, like checking stuff out all the time. Just don't post it. It's like Aroldis Chapman and his mom.
Don't post it.
Just don't post it. Just don't post it. So that's bad. I would say getting investigated by the FAA is bad.
Yeah. All they're trying to do is like, anyway, okay. Think about what else the Rockies
just trying to teach guys to go the other way, and the FAA stepping in.
All right. My Uggla this week is the call-up of Cam Boozer. Jake, what do you know about Cam Boozer, a left-handed pitcher for the Boston Red Sox?
I know that it is Booser, not like Carlos Boozer or someone who loves a high noon.
True. However, it's possible it's pronounced Boozer, but so I'm going to stick with
that.
Boozer.
Sounds like some sort of sex thing, by the way.
Yeah, I kind of agree. But anyway, I'm just going to go with Boozer in honor of Carlos. Anyway, Cam Boozer is a 31-year-old left-handed pitcher, turning 32 soon. This gentleman has been in and out of pro baseball for a long time. I am just going to straight up read from the Sox Prospects. By the way, one of the best prospect sites by far. They do an incredible job. Chris Hadfield over there, that whole team. If you care about prospects, Red Sox prospects, amazing stuff. This is the career notes section. I'm just going to read it verbatim because it's incredible for Cam Boozer, okay, who's getting called up as a 32-year-old left-hand pitcher who's been very good in AAA the last few years. Here we go. Cam Boozer, notes. Lengthy injury history. Broke his femur playing football in high school and had knee surgery, fractured a vertebrae as a senior lifting weights, had Tommy John surgery as a freshman in college, and a related elbow scope during his second minor league season, and labrum surgery during his third. All right, we're just getting started. While rehabbing in Fort Myers following the shoulder surgery in 2015, he started his career with the Minnesota Twins after being an undrafted free agent who played at Oregon State and a junior college. Okay, so he started with the Twins a long time ago. All right, continuing. While rehabbing in Fort Myers following the shoulder surgery in 2015, was hit by a car while on a bicycle and broke a bone in his back. Okay, next sentence. Was suspended for 50 games in 2015 after testing positive for marijuana. Retired in November 2016.
Not a boozer. Not a boozer. Can smoker.
Retired in November 2017 and became a carpenter. Spent 2.5 years installing ceilings before becoming a coach at a Washington training facility in 2020, where he realized he could still throw in the upper 90s without pain, leading him to attempt a comeback. Threw an inning for a semi-pro team in Seattle and was signed by the independent Chicago Dogs in 2021. Garnered interest from teams, but was still under contract with the Twins and could not sign with another organization until he was released. Was finally released in 2022 and almost immediately signed with Arizona. Signed with the Red Sox as a minor league free agent in February 2023. Received his first major league call-up in 2024. All of this is to say, Jake, I am very excited to see how much of that story the Red Sox broadcast can work in during his one inning this weekend.
Jordan?
That is my Uggla.
Best comeback performance by a carpenter in a long, long time. My Uggla, this is also maybe a bad. There is one gentleman in Major League Baseball with at least 25 baseballs put in play who has yet to hit one hard. Okay. Everyone else in the league with at least 25 balls put in play has hit 4 balls hard at least. Okay. Johan Rojas has 4 hard hit balls
is 95,
over 95.
Just to be clear.
95 miles an hour.
So 95 miles an hour exit velocity is considered hard hit. Okay, so 25 balls in play. There's one player who has yet to hit a single one of those at least 95 miles an hour.
Yeah, and just for context, Shohei Ohtani has 42 balls hit over 95 miles an hour already. Okay. Bobby Witt
is he
has
number
39.
one? I assume he's number one.
He's,
okay.
Yeah, Otani's number one. 42. Like he's at 42 balls
Okay.
over 95.
Okay.
Jordan, any guesses?
I mean, Rojas was going to be one of my first guesses. So
okay. It's his teammate.
I mean, the super depressing. Oh, is it Bryson Stott?
It is Whit Merrifield. Whit Merrifield.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I should have gotten that. Sorry,
has
Bryson
not hit
Stott.
a ball
That was
95.
Disrespectful.
Yeah, that's disrespectful.
Oh,
He has not hit a ball
jeez.
95 miles an hour yet this year. Whit Merrifield has been horrendous for the Phillies. This could have been a bad, maybe, but like the idea that he just hasn't hit it hard. And that is kind of the whole point. Like when you go up there and you swing that bat and you hit that ball, you're trying to hit that ball hard. And Whit Merrifield has not done that. You know, I do this with my Little League kids that I coach a lot where I'm like, just swing hard. Like you just swing harder. You're not catching butterflies out here, right? We're trying to impact the ball. We're trying to be mean to that thing. So maybe I'll just get Whit Merrifield out to Little League practice and tell him to swing harder and we'll fix that up.
So the thing about that is like, I agree. And like, he has undeniably stunk this season. So like, there's really no excuse for hitting 107. However, last year, Whit Merrifield ranked, I believe, in the bottom. He was first percentile average exit velocity, and he hit 272. There is a needle you can thread if you can consistently basically plop balls in front of outfielders. So far, that has not been the case for Whit Merrifield as a Philly. It is possible, but it's also possible that he has run out of that magic.
Jordan Shusterman.
We have breaking news. Have you opened this link yet?
I haven't opened the link yet.
Okay, so when we started recording this podcast, we were like, oh, apparently the Mets City Connect jerseys are going to drop at some point this morning. The Mets team store is opening at 11 a.m. Eastern. We were recording this about 10 a.m. Eastern. We have just received the link from our producer, Andrew Hartz. The Mets City Connect jerseys have officially come out. I have not seen them yet. I have seen hints at them that they will involve purple. That is not why we are both wearing purple hats today, although it works out. Jake, shall we click on this link together and react to these Mets City Connect jerseys live on this show?
Let's click. I clicked it.
All right, I'm clicking.
Oh, well, I clicked the wrong thing. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
And one job.
All right. Okay, I've clicked this link and I see Francisco Lindor looking like he is sitting at the subway, at a subway stop. What do we think of these? I believe we are leaning all the way in to the 7 line. And okay, I'm clicking here. All right, wow. Oh my gosh. Okay. So these are the least colorful City Connect jerseys. I guess the Reds have their all blacks with like the
Orioles.
red trim. These are very interesting. What do we I mean, again, if you're listening to this, you've seen them by now. They're leaning into the 7 line. What do you think? You care more about uniforms than I do.
Yeah, I like them. I think these are good. They won't be dunked on, which I think is important.
That's not true. Yeah. Every uniform gets dunked on no matter what.
That's
so true. I'm just telling you that right now. But I think I know what you're getting at.
I think they're a little too safe. I love the tops. They remind me a little bit of the Nationals City Connect ones with the WSH and the gray and the pink. I think they should have given more purple.
Yep.
I need more purple than this. And I hate the hats. I absolutely hate the hats with the bridge under the NY. I can't stand them. I get what they're going for there, but I don't like the hats. I love the top. Like the tops are great. I like that they're going to be with white pants. I like the connection to the city is good, which I understand is the whole thing. But good job. These are good. They're good. Thoughts for you.
Solid.
What do you got?
Yeah, I think they're fine. I'm gonna watch. I'm excited when we're done recording to watch their like intro video because every intro video for the City Connects is basically the same, but I'm excited to see if they do it differently. Like obviously it's different cities and they have different, theses, but the spirit is all the same, which is fine. But they're fine. They're fine. Again, that's not what you're looking for, but I'm always have very
narrated by Anthony Ramos, I believe.
That's a good start. We'll take that. I think they should have instead of just the purple, like we should have actually had a 7. Like every jersey They should all wear number 7.
Maybe one day we'll all wear number 7.
All right, Jake.
Do you remember when I ran the men's league team?
Yes.
The Cespedes, the Tenleytown Barbecuers.
Yeah, the Barbecuers, of course.
The Barbecuers.
I still have my Barbecuers hat here somewhere.
And we, everyone had Cespedes on the back as the nameplate in different numbers.
I remember when we discussed that, we were like, should everybody wear Cespedes or should everyone wear 52?
And we were like, Cespedes.
God, that's so funny. All right. Jake, let's look ahead to the weekend before we say goodbye. A lot going on this weekend. A lot of great series. And again, because we had so little baseball on Thursday, I just can't wait for these games. I will be at Cincinnati and Anaheim. I know no one calls them Anaheim anymore. I still do because that's where they play. The Angels and Reds tonight. I will be at the Guardians and A's tomorrow because I'll be in Cleveland this weekend. So that's the baseball I will be seeing with my 2 eyes. But there's a lot else on the docket. So where else would you like to begin? It's a lot to choose from. No wrong answer. There's some wrong answers, but I don't think you'll give them.
I think Jordan Montgomery against Blake Snell in the showdown of the 2 pitchers who waited too long to sign. And Montgomery already ditched Boris. They're going to face off Diamondbacks against the Giants. That'll be fun to watch. Justin Verlander is making his return to the Major League Baseball. He'll be facing off against Mackenzie Gore. Gore, have there been Gore in DC jokes like Hanging Chad, Al Gore jokes made? I don't know. It just came to my mind.
Not that I know of, but fair point.
Cutter Crawford is the best pitcher in the world right now, and he's going to pitch against the Pirates, whose offense is terrible. No hitter watch. Yamamoto will be throwing against the red hot New York Mets. Sorry, the purple hot New York Mets, I guess is what I should say. Corbin Burns against Cole Reagans on Saturday in a legitimate ace-off. That is about as ace-off as it gets right now. And then Rangers against the Braves in a World Series rematch.
Yeah. The what? A what rematch? What was that? World Series
it would have been the World Series rematch if I hadn't gotten in the way.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah, lots to choose from here. I'm really excited to watch Yamamoto tonight. I wrote about him today, just kind of looking at how his arsenal has changed. Again, it's 4 starts, but his use of the curveball has been really exciting, really interesting. I wrote a little bit about how rare it is for someone to throw like 40% curveballs and splitters. It's not a combination we really see in the big leagues right now. So he's always, every Yamamoto start is appointment viewing because we're just trying to figure out like what's his deal, how good is he really? He's looked a lot better lately. And yeah, you mentioned Verlander against the Nats. I mean, the Astros just got swept by Atlanta. They're 6-14, I believe, 6-13, and they are now, I believe, embarking 6-14, and now embarking on an 8-game road trip. And listen, the Nats don't suck, but you should be able to beat them. The Astros should be able to outscore the Washington Nationals in 2024. If they lose this series, we are really, and we're already in pretty deep of a hole. But it's only going to get worse if they drop this series. So a lot of pressure on Verlander to really show out here in his first outing of 2024. But yeah, I'm excited for a lot of these series. I guess, yeah, Mariners and Rockies is probably the worst one of the weekend, but I'll obviously be keeping an eye on that one. And I think the Royals-Orioles is one too. I know after you expressed your skepticism of Kansas City's hot start, I think they could really, really show you something.
Yeah, prove me wrong.
I know they're at home, but I think they could really show you something there. But the last thing that we have to mention, I know we said we mentioned it on Wednesday, is that on Saturday at Yankee Stadium, Yankees-Rays, they will be holding the John Sterling retirement ceremony celebration. John Sterling, who has been the voice of the Yankees for, I believe, 79 seasons, is what I read here in one of these articles. Is that right? Something like that, right? Something
that can't be right.
79? No, sorry. 30.
You
30,
can't.
30.
What?
It's a joke. I was exaggerating that he was been there for 70. Thank you for paying attention and picking up on my sarcasm at the end of this podcast. I appreciate you.
I'm all over it.
Yeah, it sure seems that way. I guess I should have said 179 seasons. John Sterling, what is so incredible about John Sterling to me is he has, and we had a little bit of this with the end of Vince Scully, but the resonation with a range of generations. And for his kind of iconic calls and his literal durability, in the box to span the literal entirety of Derek Jeter's career, which is impossible to fathom, to where we get to, listen to John Sterling on MLB TV if we want is great. And that he is, clearly a beloved figure in Yankees world. He's not someone that Jake and I have any sort of personal affinity to, or someone that we grew up listening to or understanding. But as you could tell, not just that what he means to Yankees fans, what he means to broadcasters is something that, and this was, true with Scully as well when his time kind of came to an end there. He's a legend. He's an icon.
We've had this conversation in the past, like when you see the sound come out of the person's voice in person, like a famous voice, and going to Yankees games and running into him like in the dining hall of the press box. He's like, "I'll have the chicken." Like, it's so nuts. It's so nuts.
Yeah, that's a great call. That is a very, very good way to put it. So congratulations to John Sterling on an iconic career. I'm sure you will be hearing plenty more from people that can speak way deeper on his meaning and impact on the Yankees and on the profession of broadcasting baseball games. And I'm sure we'll be hearing plenty of those this weekend as well. So congratulations to him. All right, Jake, I'm going to go watch Mike Trout play baseball, I think. If that sounds okay with you.
Great.
Sounds good.
FaceTime me so that I can watch you watch Mike Trout play baseball.
Thank you all for listening to this Friday edition of Baseball Barbacast. You can email us at baseballbarbacast@gmail.com. We're going to do a mailbag soon. We owe you all so very much, keeping those fantastic emails coming. Thank you to Andrew Hartz for producing. As always, everyone have a wonderful weekend, and we will talk to you next week.